Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie Sebing with Quilt Addicts Anonymous, and today is the beginning of our 12 Makes of Christmas series. We're going to be bringing you a new video every day if you sign up for emails over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com, and each of them is going to feature a fast gift that you can make for this holiday season. And 6 of them are going to be brand new videos, and 6 of them are going to be recycled videos of ones that we have shot of projects that we think are fabulous for the holidays. So make sure you're subscribed to YouTube and click the little bell notification so you don't miss any of the new ones, and go sign up for emails over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. That way you don't miss any of the recycled videos either. We are going to put a playlist to all of the videos that are in this series in the description for every one of these. So if you just found this video, go check out the description and then you can see them all. And we're really excited about this. That way you guys can have something to make and give that's your own and hopefully not spend a lot of money. And so these are going to be fast, fun gifts. So first up, we're going to do a makeup bag using canvas and some really cool iron-on vinyl that will make any fabric cleanable. So perfect for makeup totes, any sort of reusable sandwich bags, wet bags if you've got little ones. It's great because then you don't have to find the perfect polyurethane laminate. You can just put this on any of your favorite fabrics that you have in your stash and treat that as a lining. So I've got that, and I'm going to give you all of the measurements for this video as well. So there's no pattern. You just have to look at the measurements in the description below. We'll list them out there and in the blog to go with this video. But the way you can support us and thank us for doing these free videos and giving you the free project for this one is by subscribing to our channel and then also to our email list, so that way you can get your supplies from us. And if you do sign up for our email list at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com, you get 10% off your first order. So really fun stuff. All right, so everything in this I've cut to 9 by 20 inches. So your canvas, your lining, and your iron-on vinyl. And that's so you can get 2 of these bags from every fat quarter that you have. Because I know how you crafters work. You find one thing you like and you make it for everybody in the family and all your friends. So this way you can make your fabric go a long way. I've got some cotton and steel canvas. I feel like this print is perfect for a makeup bag because it's really fun and funky. And I've got some coordinating thread. I'm using Aurifil 50 weight, a coordinating bag zipper, which we now have at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. I'm using a fuchsia pink one. I'm also using a really light lining fabric, and that's because I'm using this iron-on vinyl that's going to make it easy to wipe down when you spill makeup inevitably in it or powders get everywhere. And I like a light lining because then you can see everything, but I also don't like a light lining because then it gets really dirty. But with this iron-on vinyl, you won't have to worry about any of that. Of course, you need a sewing machine and an iron and all that good stuff as well. But those are the basics. So the first thing I want to do is give everything a nice good press. This is very wrinkly because the cotton and steel, it comes in a roll of 2-yard cuts. And so it can be a little wrinkly when it's all done. So I'm using Flatter. It is a newer starch product, and this is a scentless version, but we have 6 varieties available over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. So give that a little spritz. I've got the trial size version here that I'm using, but we have the full size versions at the shop. And that really did a great job of taking those wrinkles out, especially on this canvas. It's a lot heavier fabric. So the fact that it's pulled that out real nice and easy is very, very good. Shows you how good of a product it is. Your lining is probably the most important part to get really flat because we're going to be applying the vinyl to it. So if you have any wrinkles, they're going to be there forever. So really take your time, use the products you need to get it good and flat before we apply the vinyl. Another reason why I like using starch is I don't like to use steam in my iron. I feel like it kind of distorts the fabric a little bit. And I'm always worried that it might cause residue or something inside the iron. I know it's not supposed to, but you know, I've had it happen with other irons, so I just have never let water touch my Oliso. I've just always kept it out of there. And also, when you're applying the vinyl, you don't want to use any steam, so you want to make sure that whatever you're doing isn't going to have any latent issues with that. All right, so I'm turning my iron down to medium heat, which is what I need to put on the vinyl. And then when it comes, it has this paper back on it. And that's because one side is sticky and then one side is the vinyl that will be the protective layer that's on there. So first I'm gonna go ahead and remove this pressing mat for a little bit so I can work with a nice flat surface. Got some cat hairs there, sweep those away. There's cat hairs in like every part of my life. So I'm gonna remove this protective paper, but you don't want to toss it because you're going to use it as a protective layer between your iron and the vinyl to keep it nice and not melted. So I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. And now you've just revealed a sticky side, and that is what you want to put on the right side of your fabric. So I've already cut these to the same side, so I'm just kind of lining up my top edges here. And then I am just kind of rolling it down. It rolls down real easy. And I'm just going to kind of smooth that over, kind of pressing from the outside in, or the inside out, rather. I can speak, I promise. All right, I got off a little bit, so I'm going to reposition a little bit as I'm going down. That's better. All right, so I'm just smoothing, making sure there's no wrinkles and that my edges are nice and even, and they are. All right, so now we're gonna take the protective paper that we just took off, and I'm gonna put that back on top of the vinyl, and that's gonna protect it when we heat set it. Okay, now I'm sliding my pressing surface back underneath here and making sure that that protective paper is covering the vinyl. You're gonna take your iron on that medium heat setting, and you're gonna press and hold for 8 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can see, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but I can see where that was. So I'm just going to kind of scooch it down. This is how I do t-shirt quilts too. What I do is I kind of will alternate 8 seconds on either side, and I kind of work my way to the center. That gives this a little bit of time to cool down before I have to overlap a little bit to get everything. All right, and give it one more quick press over. And then I'm going to repeat with the other half. All right, now you're going to want to flip everything over, and then from the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to hold the iron down for 4 seconds in each location. All right, so I'm going to let this cool down for a little bit before I peel the paper, and then also before I start sewing everything. All right, so I've let everything fully cool down. I'm going to go ahead and pull this protective paper off, and just double check that everything is fully fused and there's no lumps or bumps or anything where I feel like the fabric isn't sticking. You usually can tell better from the back that everything is good to go, because you will, when you run your fingers over it, there'll be a part that kind of bubbles up, and that is where it has not shown up. So we have now turned my lovely light cotton and steel fabric into waterproof, easy to wipe down, so perfect for the inside of a makeup bag. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so I've got my zipper, and it is a long zipper. It is longer than we need, and you probably are never going to find a zipper that is the exact right size for your project, so don't try. Just find one that looks good with the color, and you'll be good to go there, and you can just snip off the end. I'm going to show you how to install a zipper, and it is super easy. So if you've been intimidated by zippers, we're going to show you a way that's super easy, and then it'll enclose all your raw seams. You'll be fine, I promise. All right, so you're going to want a zipper foot. They usually come standard with your machines. They look like this, and they can sew on either side of them. The idea is that this little groove that is underneath fits nice and snug next to the teeth of the zipper, just like that. So really pretty cool, great function for your machine now that you know what it is. Okay, so here is the really easy way to tell what's what. So when you are opening your bag, you want obviously your exterior to be out. So when you're doing this, you want the right side of your zipper to be facing up when you are looking at the right side of your exterior fabric. In this case, it's my cotton and steel canvas. So we have lots of these at the shop, including this variety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my zipper so that the raw edges are even with the raw edges of the top here. And I'm going to go ahead and let the zipper pull go a little bit out to the side. We'll deal with that later. So don't worry about that. Go ahead and let the zipper pull hang off to the side. And then I'm going to take my fabric that we put the heat and bond on to make it waterproof. And I'm going to line the top edges up there as well. And now I'm going to pin these together just to kind of hold them in place. So I'm just going to do 2 on the edges and 1 in the center. So just like with quilting, I've got my corners lined up, but I'm just making sure that the edge of that zipper is also right in there. And I'm just using my regular pins to do that. We'll do the same thing on this side. Line everything up. So our corners are together, and then the zipper edge is right there as well. If things shift a little bit as you're sewing, that's fine, but you want to kind of start as good to where it should be as possible. Now I'm going to pull those nice and taut, kind of walk my fingers into the center, and then line up all those edges. And put a pin in here. All right, now we're ready to sew. Just to recap before we start, we have the right side of our lining fabric that we put the heat and bond vinyl on to make it waterproof, facing down. We have our zipper facing down, and then we have the right side of our canvas, which is our outer fabric, facing up. So you've got right sides together with the zipper facing the right side of your outer fabric. I'm going to take my regular presser foot off and put my zipper foot on, and the way you determine what side it needs to be on is determining by what side your zipper is going to be. So in this case, my zipper is right to the left of my zipper foot. So I want to make sure that I am clipping on in the left side of that zipper foot. Your zipper foot may look a little bit different than mine, so just experiment until it feels right for you. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing a little bit before we get to that. I'm going to go ahead and remove this pin. So we've got everything underneath at this point. We're good to go there. And those grooves of the foot are going to sit real nicely on the teeth of that zipper. And I just sew with my zipper in the center stitch. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce those stitches. I'm just going to guide it through. Again, keeping those grooves right in line with the teeth of the zipper. All right, we're going to reinforce again. And if your edges end up getting a little bit off like mine did at the end, no big deal. Nobody's ever going to see the inside of your bag. No one will know. It's not the end of the world. All right, so here's the most important part of when you're doing zippers is we're now going to flip this over and we're going to make sure it's going the right way. And it is. We've got the zipper facing the outside where our lining fabric is. And then on the inside, we have the coated part, the vinyl part on the inside. And now you have to test to make sure your zipper still works. So go ahead and unzip that. And it did. As long as it unzips all the way, that means you haven't screwed anything up and you're good to go. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a press to get everything going the other way. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. All right, normally I would use a cotton high heat setting when I'm working with canvas, but because I don't want to melt that polyurethane laminate. You can tell I made a bunch of cloth diapers at one point in my life, but because I'm using that iron-on vinyl, I don't want to overheat it. So I'm keeping it to the lower setting, and I've just sort of pressed this down in a way, and this one kind of got also pressed down in a way as I did that, so we're good there. All right, so now we need to do the same thing on the other side of the zipper. So what I want to do is mark just with pins where everything should line up. So I'm going to put my pin there, even with the exterior of my top fabric, and also here. Then I'm going to unzip this. And we're going to repeat that process. So now we've got the front side of the zipper. I've just sort of unfolded this or folded this up and flipped it along here. So that's there where it should be. I'm going to go ahead and just pin this in place. Now I'm taking the lining fabric, doing the same thing. I'm going to flip this underneath and I'm going to line it up with my corners again. Give it a little pin. I probably should mention I am using a jeans needle on my sewing machine. That's just because we're working with canvas, and also that vinyl makes it a little bit harder to sew through as well. So we just have a lot of layers, and so I don't want to use a regular quilting needle for this. We've got that too at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. All right, so I put in all the same pins that I would have put in before. And again, we've got our fabrics are right sides together. So here is the right side of my canvas and the right side of my lining, they're facing. And then the zipper is still facing with that top of that zipper where the zipper pull is facing my bag. And so I know that I'm gonna be right. All right, so same deal as before. I'm gonna line it up so that way my zipper is sitting right against where those zipper teeth are, the zipper foot. I'm going to go ahead and sew forward a little bit, pull this pin out. I'm going to sew a couple stitches, reinforce, so I have a nice strong pull there. All right, so I flipped everything so that it's going the same direction it will be when it's all done. I've tested that my zipper does in fact close, so always a good thing. And that means we're good. We've installed our zipper. It's now mostly finished. And I've got my canvas on the outside, and on the inside, we have the shiny side of the vinyl facing the right direction. So we know we're on the right track. So now I'm gonna unzip this. And now we need to sew up our sides. And we're gonna do that all at once. So you're gonna flip this around so that your wrong sides are facing out. So now all of your right sides should be facing together. And here's the important part. You've gotta zip this zipper in enough so that it is now in the middle, but not all the way to the end. Because once we sew over this edge, you are no longer going to be able to use your zipper. Because once you sew over, you can't do it anymore. Oh, one thing I totally forgot to do. We have to press. So let's do that real quick with this new side that we just sewed. Kind of gets a little weird at this point, unless you're doing it when it was totally turned over to make sure you were going the right direction. All right, so we're back to the right sides together, and I'm gonna take my zipper pull and I'm gonna zip it to about the middle of the bag. I want it in the middle because then it's going to be nice and sewn together nicely here, and it's going to be mostly together on this side. We'll be able to pin it in place, but you don't want to zip all the way out to the end because once you sew over a zipper, you can no longer zip past that point. So you don't want to go all the way down. So now that we figured that out, what we want to do is we want to fold this so that the seams are going toward the lining like this. And I'm gonna start with this end. This is the end where we didn't go all the way down. So I'm gonna line it up so that my edges are nice and even. My zippers are together. And then I'm gonna put a pin in so that it catches all of our seams here on both sides. And that way they're pointed toward the lining fabric, so that way they will lay that way when the bag is completed. Do the same thing on the other side. It's a little easier on this side because you've got the zipper closed, so it's already kind of holding that together. But it is nice to pin it because then it's definitely going to be going the direction you want it to, and it won't accidentally flip one to one side and one to the other. Now, if you want, you can also pin along the sides here to sort of keep those nice and stable. I'm just going to do a couple pins at the top here just so that I know kind of where my point should be. And just to point out here, you can see I'm about 1/4 inch or so in from where I want it to be. So I just want to make sure that I take a little bit deeper seam as I'm going through there. That way it's not going to be a problem when I sew it together, but I am nice and lined up over here. But sometimes things do shift a little bit. Now here's the important thing that you want to do. When we are sewing along here, we want to leave an opening for turning in the lining. So you can mark that with a pen, so that way you don't forget about it. We're going to do one here and one here. And so, and you want something that's big enough that you can fit your hand through, because you're going to pull everything out. So maybe I even want to give myself a little bit more space there. So I'm going to start sewing right here, and I'm going to stitch down to the bottom. And then I'm going to start sewing here and go all the way around to the other bottom, and reinforcing my stitches every time, and that'll give me my opening for turning that bag. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my regular presser foot back on for this step. All right, so first I'm going to start sewing all the way around the edge, and I'll get that little bit at the very end. So I'm lining my sewing machine up where I made that first hash mark, and I'm going to sew this with a 3/8 inch seam. I want something just a little bit more substantial, because this is going to get more use and abuse than a standard quilt. So I'm going to set my sewing machine up so that it's already going to take those stitches to reinforce everything to start with. And then I'm going to go nice and slow as I approach that zipper, because you can sew over zippers without any problem, but you do want to take it slow, because you can break a needle on them if you're trying to just go crazy over them. Sometimes even when I get to the zipper part, I will just stitch by hand. Reinforce those stitches at the end here. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing, this time going from the bottom to that mark that we made. Reinforce the stitches again. So now I've sewn one entire side but left an opening for turning. Now I'm going to flip around to the other side, and for this one I'm just going to stitch right down from the top all the way down to the bottom in one stitch. Again, reinforcing those stitches at the top and bottom. Slow down a little bit as I get to that zipper. I'm going to go over the hump. Make sure I pull that pin so I don't break a needle on that either. Make sure I'm nice and aligned here. Reinforce those stitches one more time. All right, now before I turn this inside out, I want to make a gusset so that the bag will stand up nicely on its own. Now I think a 1-inch gusset is perfectly fine for this. So I'm going to make a mark 1 inch from that seam line in, and also 1 inch over here. And measuring in from that seam line, that way I have a nice square to work with. And I'm going to do the same thing on all 4 sides. This is a friction gel pen, by the way. I really love them, and I have them in multiple colors, so no matter what I'm working on, they'll show up great. So now to do a gusset, you want to sort of grip your fabrics, and you're going to flatten that out. And you want to kind of turn this into a 45-degree angle. And in theory, those marks I made should be right on top of each other. So I'm going to poke my needle through there. And it is, it's coming out right there, so that's perfect. I'm just gonna go ahead and pin that. And then I'm gonna carry that line through the rest of the way. So lining that any inch line up on that seam line, I can just take my marking tool and take that line through. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and sew these before I do the gusset on the lining side. That way I can trim my seams and have that out of the way. All right, so I just flatten my bag out as much as I can. And then I'm going to reinforce those stitches. Sew all the way down. Reinforce the stitches again. And I'm just sewing right on that line that we drew. Now sometimes you might want to leave a gusset in for structural support. For this, it's just going to be a makeup bag. It's not like it's going to be under a lot of use. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that seam so we can reduce the bulk. And I'm just trimming it to about 3/8 of an inch, which is the same seam allowance we've been using all along. So now you can already see this bag is going to have a nice little sit up when it goes through. And a nice little 2 inches here. That'll sit nice and tall. So I'm going to repeat everything, this time working with the lining. It's going to be a little bit trickier just because that vinyl made it a little stiff, but the process is exactly the same. The last thing you're going to want to do before you flip everything inside out is trim your zippers. So I'm just going to take a pair of my paper scissors, cut off the edge on both sides there. All right, now we're going to take the opening that we left for turning and put your hand through. You may need to open your zipper up a little bit. That's why you don't want to close it all the way, just about halfway, so you can still get in there to reach the rest of your bag. Flip this all right side out. Don't worry, we're going to give this one final press when it's all done. All right, so before we put that in, I'm going to take just a really tiny seam on the inside there. So what I'm doing here is I kind of put my fingers in on the top, and that kind of helps everything smooth to the inside. I'm going to take a pin and put that right in the top. And then I'm just going to take the teeniest little stitches with matching thread, starting a little bit before and ending a little bit after the hole we left open for turning. And then stitching as close to that opening as I can. I'm just sewing right along it. It's the inside of a bag. It doesn't need to be pretty. And you certainly wouldn't want to hand stitch through the vinyl. That would be quite challenging. When I get as far down as I want to go, I'm going to reinforce those stitches again. And the threads. And then I can turn this so that the lining is inside the bag. Make sure to press out those gussets and smooth everything out. I'm going to go ahead and give the whole thing a little press. Just get rid of any lumps and bumps that happened during the construction and turning everything right side out. Okay. Just zip this guy up. And now we've got our makeup bag. You can fit a whole lot in it. It's really cute. Zips nicely. The inside can be wiped down if you spill concealer or a bunch of powder or lotion or anything in it. So really cute, really fun, and really fast and easy. And you can get 2 of these out of 2 fat quarters. So 1 fat quarter for your lining, 1 fat quarter for your exterior, and then a fat quarter's worth of your heat and bond vinyl as well. So check that out, or actually a half yard, because that is only 24 inches wide. But really cool, really fun, doesn't take a lot of materials, doesn't take a lot of time, and you can really customize them for the people in your life and make it cute. You could always like add a handle or something and make it a nice little lunch bag. You could make the gusset a little bigger for that. There's so many things that you could do to customize this to fit just for what you are looking for. But that lining on the inside, oh gosh, I love it. It's super crinkly, so it's kind of loud. But I would prefer that any day, because when I look in here, I can see what I need that's in it. And then also it's going to store a ton of stuff. I can get entire like makeup, eyeshadow palettes in here, and it's going to be great for traveling this holiday season. So check it out. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, because we're going to be doing new videos every other day for 12 Makes of Christmas. And if you subscribe to our emails, we're also going to be sending out every day. Every other day will be a one that we've done before that makes a perfect gift, fast, quick, easy. And again, you can make up a whole bunch of these real fast, especially if you're doing sort of assembly line and you're doing this for a lot of people in your family. So until our next video, happy quilting!